Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Today I'm going to show you how we can enable CI/CD in Azure DevOps. I'm not going to go much details on what is CI/CD, ACD, and all those things because, of course, if you're watching this, you might know what CI/CD is. But I'm going to show you how we can do CI/CD in Azure DevOps, how we can create a build pipeline, how we can create a release pipeline, and how we can make a continuous deployment to Azure. Okay, so that is what we are going to do today. So as you can see in the screen, I'm in Azure DevOps now. So we don't have any repository. So here you can see Azure repository. It's like GitHub. This is actually basically Azure repository where we can create a repository and we can initially set up the build pipeline and release pipeline, and we don't have any project yet, so I'm going to create everything from scratch. I'm going to create a new project and I'm going to create all the needed resource in Azure portal, and we'll set up everything from the scratch. Okay, so first thing first, I'm going to create a web app in Azure to deploy. So you might know web app is basically a platform as service where we can deploy web apps. Okay, so I'm in Azure portal now. Let me go and create a new resource here, and let me search for web app. Okay, and here is, and I can create the web app. Okay, I'm going to select one of my existing resource group, that is AZ demo, and web app name is, I'm going to create maybe say Code with Vijay. Of course, that's my channel name. By the way, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe it, so that when I upload new videos you will get updates. Okay, that is the name and the runtime stack. We are going to create a .NET Core application, basically a .NET Core 3.1 application. So let me select 3.1, and the operating system we are going to deploy is Windows, and I'm going to select the location which is near to me, that is West Europe. Okay, sorry, I think the near one is North Europe, not West Europe. That's near to me. Okay, let me select it from here. I can't find it. Let me search for Europe. It's North Europe here. Okay, that's the nearest location to me. And remaining all, I'm going to leave it as default. Let me click on monitoring. As this is just an application to show CI/CD, I don't want application insights to be enabled for now. And let me click on tags. I'm going to leave even tags empty. Click on next and click on review. Okay, I have already reviewed. Click on create. Okay, everything is good. It takes some time to create the resource, so I'm going to pause the recording until it creates the resource. Okay, and I'll come back once the resource has been created. Okay, now the resource creation has been completed successfully, so let us go and see the resource. Okay, we can see the resource has created, and we have a URL here. We don't have any application deployed to this web app yet, so we probably cannot we cannot see anything apart from that. This is a default page of Microsoft Azure. So now let us go and create a repository in Azure. Okay, or before that, let us create an application. Okay, let us create an application in Visual Studio, basically a .NET Core web application. So let us create that next. So let me jump into Visual Studio. Okay, I've opened Visual Studio, and let us create a new project. Okay, basically I'm looking to create a ASP.NET Core web application. So let me get the template of ASP.NET Core web application. Yeah, this one. and that is C sharp. Click on next, and let me name the project Code with Vijay again. Okay, and okay, let me store under C drive and Azure DevOps folder. That was a folder which I have created before. Let me click on create. So it creates. Okay, so we can go ahead and create a web application with model view controller, and have configured it for HTTPS. And let me click on create. Okay, now okay, everything is getting ready. Let us simply run the application to see is everything fine. Okay, it is building up. We'll wait for some time. Okay, now you can see the web application. The name is Code with Vijay, and everything as default because I haven't changed anything. Okay, so we have created our sample application. It's not a big application, as the intention is to show you how to enable CI/CD in Azure. So I'm not going to going to create any big changes in the application. So that's what we want to do today. Okay, now because as you know, this application is not part of any repository now. Okay, so let us go and create a repository in Azure. Okay, and we'll check in the code to the Azure repository. Okay, so let's do that next. Okay, so I am back to Azure DevOps portal, and as I have promised, let us create a new repository here so that we can push our code to this repository. And let me create one, and the name let's say AZ maybe CI/CD demo. Let's give that name and click on create. Probably I don't need readme file for now. Let me create that repository, and now the repository has been created, and the next step is to push the code which we have created to this repository. So let me copy this URL here, and let me go to the folder which we have created the project. Open folder in File Explorer. Okay, and let us initialize Git here. Let us open Git bash and Git init. Now let us set the remote origin here and add origin and the repository URL which we have copied. Okay, now let us check the Git status. Of course, all be red, that is not added yet. So now let us add here, and let us check the status again. That should be green now. Yes, and now let us commit this. Well, let me give a message, maybe say first commit. Okay, and let us push it to the remote repository which we have created. Okay, now it is pushing the code, and that has been completed. So let us go back to the Azure DevOps repository which we have created and see the code is already there. Okay, let us refresh the page once and see the code. Yeah, it is already there. So pushing to the remote repository has been successfully completed, and the next step is to create a build pipeline and a release pipeline, and let us enable continuous delivery, or basically CI/CD for this project. So let us do that next. Okay, so I am in pipeline sections here, basically this link here. Before continuing to video, I want to quickly, probably in couple of words, I want to explain you the difference between continuous delivery and continuous deployment, because both are doing different things. So basically, continuous delivery means a software which can be deployed to customers anytime, probably just with a push button. That is continuous delivery, because it can deploy anytime. But continuous deployment is basically, a software which will deploy to customers once it passes the continuous integration system. Basically deploying automatically. It's an automatic process, and but delivery is basically a manual process with a push button. Okay, so that's a basic difference between continuous delivery and continuous deployment. So I just wanted to highlight it. So now let us go and create a pipeline here. Click on create pipeline. Okay, and you can see two sections here. All these are basically new YAML based build pipeline, but I'm going to do YAML based build pipeline. Now I'm going to use this little link here, that is the classic editor. Okay, I'm clicking on classic editor, and this is the repository we want to build, and this is the branch. That is correct. Click on continue, and we need a template. Basically, we want to build a .NET Core project. So let me search for .NET Core. So you can see one template here: build and test an ASP.NET Core web application. That is what we want. Click on apply, and it's loading up, and we can see the repository is correct, the branch is correct, and remaining all I'm going to leave it as default. So the agent job, so agent is a piece of software that will run all these tasks. So that is agent will do. Okay, I'm going to leave everything as default. And for your knowledge, we can create a custom agent on our own. Okay, probably in some other video I will show that, but I'm going to leave all this default. And what this will do is it will restore all the packages, and it will build the project, and it will test the project, and you can see it will test the .cs proj of the test project or test library. We don't have that, so we don't need that, but I'm leave it as like that. And it will publish the artifact here. Okay, we can, if you want, you can change the artifact name to some other name, but I'm leaving it as a drop. That's a good name. At least we can understand that's a drop, something we have dropped there. Okay, so that's already. Let me click on save and queue. Okay, I haven't changed the name. Let me change this name as well to something. Okay, maybe just code with Vijay. Okay, that would be enough just to make it clear. Now click on save and queue. Okay, and the comment, that's not mandatory, but let me still give a comment. That is first build. Okay, picking it from this agent pool and agent specification, all that I'm leaving it as such. I'm not going to change that. Click on save and run. Okay, it has triggered the build. This agent has picked it up, and let us wait some time until this has been completed. I'm going to pause the video until the build has been completed. Okay, now the build has been completed successfully. We can see the artifacts here. The artifacts has produced, and it has dropped in the drop location, and all the binaries has been zipped into a zipped folder. Okay, so the build is fine now. Let us go and create a release for it. So what the release will do is it will pick up all the artifacts from the drop location, and it will deploy to Azure DevOps. Sorry, Azure. Okay. Click on a release here. We don't have any pipeline defined, so let me click and create a new pipeline. Okay, and the template we want is Azure web deploy. Okay, there's no template. I can see one here. Azure App Service deployment. You can read here: deploy your application to Azure App Service. Choose from web app on Windows, Linux, containers, etc., etc. So that is what we want. Click on apply, and the stage name. Let me give the name dev, and let me close this window. So that's a stage name here, and here we have to select. I'll come to this job here. Okay, before that we have to select an artifact. Okay, so here the build, and the build pipeline is the one we have created sometimes back, so that's a build. Okay, and the source areas, let me give code with Vijay, and we need to deploy the latest version. Okay, if you want to specify a specific version, you can select this specific time of release creation, or according to your needs. But I'm going to create here, there's one for specific version if you want to release a specific version, and or you can ask at the time of release creation and other things. So I'm going to select the latest one to release all the time. Okay, and click on add. Now we have added the artifact. Okay, and the next thing to do is we need to enable a continuous deployment trigger. So basically, whenever we change a code and after to build it, it should automatically deploy to this stage. Okay, so basically for dev and QA environment, and a continuous deployment should be fine, but for other environments, like basically ultimately for production, that may not be what we need, because there we need a manual approval before deploying it to production stage or any other important stage. So ideally we shouldn't enable continuous deployment trigger for production, but for dev that is fine. So I'm going to enable continuous deployment trigger. You can see it is disabled now. Okay, so I have enabled it. Okay, let me close this window. Okay, it means whenever I make any change to the code, and after I checked in, it will automatically build it, and after the build it will deploy to this stage. Now let me click on the job. Okay, here let me select the Azure subscription, and the app type is web app on Windows. That is correct, that is what we want. And the app service name is basically the app service which we have created. If you remember, we have created a web app here in Azure, so during that creation it has automatically created an app service even with the same name. Okay, so that is what here. Okay, that is correct. And here we have everything is correct, and run on agent. So agent is a software which will run this thing, as I've mentioned before. And remaining everything I am going to leave it as default. Okay, let us save this comment, maybe first release. Okay, click on OK, and now let us create a release here. Okay, and click on create, and that release one has been created. Let us see. Okay, now we can see this has been queued. Okay, let me click on that, and the agent is ready to do the job, and it has been picked up, and it is releasing. Before that, let me quickly click on this URL. Okay, again it's still the old one. Okay, the deployment is still going on, and let me pause the video until the deployment has been completed. Okay, now the deployment has been completed successfully. Okay, let us go back to the site and let us refresh, and we should be able to see, and we can see the project which we have created has been deployed here. Okay, Now let us see the setup which we have created is working fine or not. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a change in the code. Okay, and I'm checking that in, and after that we should be able to see everything working properly as expected. Basically it will automatically build and it should automatically deploy. As we have enabled the continuous deployment trigger, it should automatically deploy to the Azure. Okay, let us see that. Okay, let me go back to Visual Studio here, and in the views let me change something here in the index HTML. Instead of welcome, let me say welcome to code with Vijay. So that's a change we made. Let me stop it. Okay, just to see is it working properly. Let us run locally and see. Okay, it is hosting up. Let's wait some time until it loads. Okay, now this has been loaded and you can see the changes which we have made. Let me go back to Visual Studio and check in the code. Basically the changes, we can compare the changes. So this is what we have modified, and let me check that in. Change the text, okay, in index.html. Okay, let me commit the staged and let me sync it and push it. Okay, now let us go to the Azure DevOps and see it started building. So we can see nothing has triggered. Let me refresh the page and see did it pick up anything. Still we can't see anything, so it means there is something wrong with the build which we have created. Let me go and see. Probably we might have missed to enable the continuous build. Let me check. Okay, here in the triggers, okay, this is what happened. We did not enable the enable continuous integration checkbox. Now we have enabled it. Okay, let me save it again and let me save it. Okay, we'll do another modification in the code and see is it working now. Okay, let me do that. Let me go back to the Visual Studio and let me probably add a space here. Okay, let me save it, let me stop it, and we have changed just index.html, and let me stage it and let me push the change. Okay, commit change and let me push it. Okay, now it is pushing. Let's wait until, okay, now the push has been completed. Let us go back to the pipeline. Here now you can see this has been queued. Okay, so it is queued. Let us see, the agent has picked up the job and the build is going on. We'll wait for some time until the build has been completed. Okay, now it is publishing the artifact and the artifacts have been published. Now when we go to release, we should be able to see, you can see here now this release has been picked up automatically and this has been queued. Okay, let us see, and the agent is ready and the agent is connecting. Okay, now it is in progress. Okay, and after this has been completed, this will deploy the code to the Azure web app which we have created. Okay, let us wait until then. Okay, now the release has been completed. Let us go and refresh the page. So here we should be able to see, instead of welcome, that should be welcome to code with Vijay with space. So that is what we have enabled. Everything we have enabled CI CD from the code. That is the end-to-end pipeline. How I mean that is basically how the pipeline and how it works. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and if you like the video, please don't forget to subscribe my channel so that you will get further notification whenever I upload new video. Probably in the next section I will show you how to create a custom agent, okay, instead of the default hosted agents or default agent, how we can create an agent on our own and how we can select that agent to build our application. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and I wish you a nice time ahead. Thank you.